A very good morning and wishing you a wonderful Wednesday ahead. Welcome to today's episode. Three things we were talking about today. US home prices are jumping faster than ever. Didi IPO priced at $14 and Elon Musk satellite network Starlink. US home prices are jumping faster than ever in the latest measure, rising about 14.6% in the year that ended in April. That's the highest annual rate of price growth since the S&P CoreLogic Case-Shiller National Home Price Index began in 1987. Rising home values may be a good thing for many household balance sheets and consumer credit, but it's likewise a potential stumbling block for the economy as fewer people may opt to move and housing becomes less affordable. It also may be on the minds of the Federal Reserve officials as they contemplate when and how quickly to tighten policy. The conference board said its index of consumer confidence also rose in June, beating analyst expectations. The survey, which offers insights into Americans' willingness to spend on goods and services, found that consumers are optimistic about business conditions and their own financial prospects in the months ahead. Financials dipped though on the session despite the fact that banks announced a slew of shareholder payouts. Investors had been betting on that for a while and perhaps are now eyeing tougher conditions ahead. Morgan Stanley was an outlier, rising more than 3% after saying it plans to double its dividend. The S&P 500 overall was barely changed for the day. The Dow Jones added just 9 points. The Nasdaq was up about 0.2%. In the bond markets as well, the yield on the 10-year Treasury was pretty much flat for the day. On to one of the most anticipated IPOs in the recent times. Chinese ride-hailing Goliath Didi Global priced its IPO at $14 on Tuesday afternoon. This is according to what's getting reported, setting the stage for the company to begin trading Wednesday after it made a lightning-fast pitch to potential investors. The company sold more stock than it had planned, though the new deal size could immediately be learned. Given the upsizing, the pricing would give Didi a market capitalization of more than $67 billion, which could trail US ride-hailing firm Uber Technologies roughly about $95 billion, but land well ahead of Lyft, which sits around $20 billion. Didi's fully diluted valuation, which typically includes restricted stock units, could easily eclipse $70 billion at the initial public offering price, confirming earlier reports by the Wall Street Journal. Didi's pricing comes just 3 business days after it's launched its roadshow, making it one of the shortest investor pitches for an initial public offering in recent memory. This is according to bankers, investors, and lawyers. Typically, the roadshows happen for about 8.5 days is what the general average is being stated. To be fair, Didi ran its roadshows through round-the-clock virtual meetings because of the time zone differences. Company executives focused on Didi's scale and potential for continuing growth. The executives emphasized that 70% of China's population will live in cities by 2030 and that few people own cars in those cities and far fewer than in the US. Didi argues that it is in a position to capitalize on that and from shared mobility in general to its investments in electric vehicles and artificial intelligence to help ensure the deal got done. And one of the reasons the company was able to speed through its roadshow was that Didi lined up roughly 1/3 of its IPO allocations in advance. Morgan Stanley Investment Management and Temasek Holdings are two so-called anchor investors that plan to buy about 1.25 billion of shares in the IPO. Didi, which elbowed Uber Technologies out of China, is one of the most anticipated Chinese companies to list in the US since e-commerce giant Alibaba Group did in 2004. It boasts an Apple Inc. executive as a board member, and pre-IPO investors include Tencent Holdings and SoftBank, which is also a prominent backer of Uber. Lastly, Elon Musk's satellite network Starlink is on track to beam broadband internet everywhere except the polar regions by August. Space Exploration Technologies has launched more than 1,500 satellites so far, and the network operates in about a dozen countries, Musk said at a Mobile World Congress. The total cost will be up to $10 billion before cash flow turns positive, is another remark that he made. That is the update. Stay safe and healthy, and I'll speak to you tomorrow.